The other one was based on complete auditoriums, but since my theory of acoustic is not yet over, I didn't want to take that. The reason is I was going to dig into some of the examples from the acoustical theory into the thing, and then you wouldn't understand, and that would be waste of my time as well as your time. So I thought of taking the one where I will be showing you some examples of various architects, two Indian and two foreign, where we talk about service as a narrative. If I am talking about service as a narrative, okay, where we say that it could be, I mean, I can treat service as an assembly. I can treat service as a protagonist, you know, as the hero of the building, that is the reason why the building got the shape, okay, or the form. So yeah, there are various ways I can look at services. So that is what the entire this thing is going to be. And the fact is, why we are taking these lectures is that hopefully we, like last time, Ainsley took, and the first lecture where Jimmy took you through this journey of all these different kinds of large span structures, some of them auditorium, some of them not auditoriums, but overall idea of how do you then understand the idea of core and then the shell and then the everything, okay? Similarly, even if I'm not talking about auditoriums, but if I'm talking about some other buildings, okay, the whole idea is how do you take services, whether it's auditorium or not an auditorium, whether it's a simple building or an advanced complex building, doesn't matter. How do you take that ahead, okay, and then start designing your building? Hmm? So similar such lectures will be planned for you. So I guess the next lecture would be the climate oriented designs, where I guess Kimaya will be taking it. So the first building that we will take is, and very quickly I'll try to finish this within an hour. The first we take is the Salk Institute. We all know that, designed by Louis Kahn. Okay, this is how the building is panned out. Again, there is a lag, I guess. Okay, so this is how the entire building is panned out. Salk Institute was basically institute where it was a laboratory actually. Uh, so this was how it was planned, and the brief given to the architect Louis Kahn was that the laboratory should be free of any kind of obstacles, so no columns, large space, it should be flexible, large machines can be going in and out, they can be transferring to one place or the other. So that kind of brief was given to him, and this was the form he derived out of it, right? So this is the basic plan, where if you see the yellow part is where your main laboratory is. The greens on the side are, you can see, I hope you can see my cursor, are the offices, okay? And the blue, I mean, there are lots of these blue between each office block. There are these blues that are your toilets and staircases and lifts and everything. So basically, that's your service block. So the whole way the building is planned is extruding the services out of the main hall, okay? And that's how the entire thing was planned. So it was again, and Louis Kahn is known for making this very prominent statement of served and service place, okay, or served or servant spaces, you know. I mean, and I'll show you his famous dialogue which he said about the services. So this is how the entire, so, and in this entire, in the center, I'll show you the pictures. In fact, in the first picture, you can see this line here. Okay, I'm going back. You can see that the way the landscape was planned was very stark. The idea was the idea. If you can see, this is the water channel, okay, and there is actually, initially when he planned this institute, he had planned for integrated landscape, where he was hoping that yahan pe there will be like greens and the trees and the herbs and whatever. But then in the end, I guess the whole idea about making building as the hero of it and kind of giving a very large, stark kind of an image, okay, of a laboratory, and that's why he designated this landscape to that, right? Yeah. So the next slide is all about it's so basically it was a research institute, okay, and in the field of biology, okay, set up in 1960, okay, so it's way back. I've already changed the slide. And was planned for flexibility, as I already said, right? So some of the space planning principles that was applied here was flexibility. It has to be spacious, it has to be unobstructed spaces, and it has to be maintenance free. Now, a laboratory, we understand, has to have a certain kind of environment, okay, for whatever reasons, okay, sometimes they need controlled air conditioning there, or you can require controlled kind of cleaning of air because they require certain kind of, so even the water that is being used, some of the services that are there, you can have actually plants of distilled water, taking the water to the laboratories. So these kind of facilities needed to be there, okay, and so the whole planning was designed, as I already said, the spaces was very clearly defined. The purples are your unobstructed labs, while the rest is all taken out. So all your office spaces where people need to transfer. If I have to discuss with somebody through the corridor, I can approach other offices, but my labs would be unobstructed with people or with any kind of architectural element. So that was how the entire planning was planned. Okay. And this was definitely one of the most, I guess, a very popular kind of an architecture during that time. And even today, the materiality of it, the stark concrete, the exposed concrete, the way the entire building was mapped out, taking out the services. And you will see and you can see the next slide is talking about how the entire office block along with your service block was lighted naturally, leaving the laboratory completely air conditioned. So in this, you can see the central portion is completely open to sky. So this is kind of a corridor where you can walk and access. So these are the staircases is happening in the service block. And right next to each of these services were your office blocks. In between, there was a small corridor, which was marked as this open kind of places which gave natural light, ventilation, and kind of made the whole building pretty lively. Okay. And these are some of the interior views where the light, and I'll be showing you the plan where the way the windows were imagined to get the light in was very diffused, protected, right? These are some of the spaces on the top where people can just come out, have a cup of tea. This was very adjacent to the offices, right? In the service block where people can just come out, mingle, talk. It was like a gathering space, informal kind of. Hmm? These are just some of the analytical diagrams of the building. Okay, I guess there is a lag where we talk about how the circulation was planned in and around the building, how the climatic consideration was taken, and then how the building was planned. So you can see in the first, the green are the ones where the people can move. Okay, so this is obviously outside the building. Where the movement happened, okay, and you saw the environment. It was very stark. Okay, so generally, and this is Los Angeles. So and you have the cliff view right from there. So it was a very pleasant kind of a movement there. Weather being cool there at that climatic. I mean, the climate out there is pretty cool most of the time. So yeah. So this was how the circulation was planned, and you can see the sun path. And based on this, the windows were planned so that it gets the, understand, this is coming from the cold kind of a climate. They wanted the sun in, but in spite, this is in Los Angeles, okay, where the summers are a little heavy. I mean, they are a little hot. So and then how do you keep the sun out? So you saw the previous picture where only the diffuse kind of a light was coming in. That means the windows were properly shaded and they had a proper and you can get a very diffuse kind of a light happening. Okay, this is talking about structural. You can see the niche wala thing. Okay, where, and this is the massing. The first one is about the massing. So you can see the way the whole of the service block was extruded out, kind of giving a very beautiful form to the building. Okay, while the labs were like one plain block. So the main service, the main point of the building was nothing but a one square huge block, which actually did not contribute to any form making thing. Okay, it was these kind of service blocks, the offices which were taken out of the building that started giving form and function to the building. The niche wala diagram, this one is sorry, is talking about structural columns and the way the structure systems were done, and the other diagram is talking about the what do you call private versus public. So the blue is completely public, while the red is completely private, where the offices and the labs and everything used to happen. Okay. Um, this is just the photo. So you can see this, the windows, how they were planned. You can see the fenestration. The entire fenestration was facing the sun side. But at the same time, these are the windows extruded out. So this is not the livable area. The livable area happens inside. Okay. So if you see this, this was just the area where the windows were happening, but actually the living spaces were inside here. So that was the reason where you can see you do not get the direct light, or the people were not affected by, you know, the pouring sunlight that happens there. It came as a very diffused kind of a light. Charles Correa also uses this kind of strategy in most of his building, where knowing the Indian climate, knowing that we most of the India is a tropical climate where you have hot and humid or hot and dry. The sun is one powerful element. Okay, we need it, and yet we don't need it. Okay, we need the light, but not the heat. How do you get the light in and keep the heat out? And that's where the planning of fenestration, planning of facade, planning an elevation, okay, which we will always neglect when we do the design. We are so much into doing plan, and just completely at the last moment, just the day before the submission, we think of a elevation. But actually, that is not so. This is how one should take climate into consideration, the massing, the principle of planning into the consideration, okay, and then one should come out with this. So it was a very beautifully planned facade, a very stark, the material, the way he has used it, the concrete panels with this has a different kind of a, I think these are, not sure what are they, but I actually forgot. So, so this is how the whole building was planned. A very strong kind of a language evolved out of this. Okay, the other building that I'm going to talk about is again by the same architect, but in Indian context, it's IIM Ahmedabad. I'm sure your class, if not have visited, you must visit Ahmedabad. It's like mecca for architecture. You have major international architects as well as good Indian architects, you know, doing beautiful buildings out there. I mean, it's known for some of the legendary buildings in India. Okay, so IIM being one of them, it has a magnificent language. Call it regional vernaculum or vernacular, because the way the materials were being used, the climate was considered, and then the whole thing emerged. Okay, so this is how the whole IIM looks like. Okay, very stark. It's Ahmedabad, hot and dry, extremely extreme climate. Okay, dry, and yet this building provides you with a kind of, you know, a relief in terms of heat, relief in terms of subdued light. There is no like you know, open large windows, and the way the windows are planned with those huge round, so they look huge, but they are far away from the actual living spaces. So that's how and plus you get lovely views, and if you see the campus planning, it's really amazing. Okay, so this was around 102 acres in Vasrapur, Ahmedabad. The campus houses the academic blocks. It has faculty offices. It has student and faculty accommodation. Yani you actually have hostel blocks there. And Vikram Sarabhai Library, the RJ Mathai Auditorium. By the way, that is not the auditorium done by Louis Kahn. It was done by Anand Raja, I guess, and Louis Kahn Plaza, okay, and lot many other buildings are planned, okay, and more or less, if you see the language which was set by Louis Kahn was so strong that whoever other people came and planned there, kind of, you know, by default they started following those kind of things. Probably because it emerged. Probably because it emerged from the climatic concerns, okay, and the very strong material input that went into it. Now let's look at how the entire thing was planned. Okay, so you can see, oh, the thing has not yet changed. Anyway, so the next slide I'm talking about is the plan. Okay, yeah. So now you can see. So it is. So you can see one is the offices. All these one block that you can see my cursor moving on. Okay, so these are the offices, and you can see how the offices are planned. Each and every office has a view. It has a kind of a lawn kind of a thing. Okay, the lawn that is being used here are not the lawn that we talk about. Okay, because knowing Ahmedabad, knowing that it has water problem, very scarce rainfall there, with the climate change that is happening. Very recent years, where we have heard these unbelievable things like Ahmedabad is flooded and having 5 feet of water everywhere, which was actually something to be dreamt of, right? Because it was always on a drier side. It was always having the rainfall of just about 600, 700. Okay, initially, but now the things are changing. Okay, and people are feeling the impacts of it, right? So this is what we are saying about climate change and what we should do about it as an architect, and it becomes a very fundamental role of doing something about because we know that we do contribute a very large portion to the GHG, that is greenhouse gas emission. right? So these were the offices, okay? Then we can see the library, the two part, which is like one of the very beautiful library, the kind of light that comes in, the kind of atmosphere, ambience, okay, it's beautiful. And we'll be showing and I'll be showing you the pictures of it along with the plan, detailed one. I'm just showing you this as a basic. This was how the whole the main building, the central building was planned, okay, for which the IIM is known as, okay. So this is where the main access is, you know, you see the huge kind of a large steps that goes in with a large raised up lawn that is there. The whole lawn is just raised up, and you can see right where the lawn is raised, you will see that there are service blocks. So no, किसी की नजर ही नहीं जाती है वहां पे, no. And the way the service blocks are planned is in a way that everything is hidden. Then you see the third one is the court. Okay, so these are the three are the smaller courts, and 5 and 6 are the larger courts. They are known as LK Plaza, that is Louis Kahn Plaza, where IIM people gather during their coronation, and all the other larger student activity happens out here. And they are at two different levels. So from one plaza you can look down. So one is paved while the 5 is paved while the 6 is lawn. And as I said, it is not that typical lawn that we talk about where it is water thirsty. These are the nominal grass that grows. The only thing that has to do is to hire a gardener to trim it. That's it. Otherwise, it does not require massive, it doesn't take water. It really doesn't. It survives on what is there, and that's it. So sometimes we go there in summer, and that is usually the time I visited it. That was the time when we had vacations, and we used to go there. It used to be brown, and you can see it's a nominal grass, no lawns, but yeah, so this is how the entire impact was planned. Okay, 4 are your classrooms, and you can actually see the planning of the plan. So you have the corridor, the yellow part is the corridor which you are planning. Okay, you're walking, and then you enter it, and he really went ahead and did a research and found out that the classroom, the kind of guru sishya kind of a what do you call philosophy, where up you respect your teachers. So the rooms and the doors, and they're so planned well. The tall people really have to, like, jhuk ke jana padta hai andar. You have to step up and go in. And so the way the whole thing, so there are these two uh, kind of a place where people can sit, talk, discuss. Okay, and then you enter a classroom. Again, classroom is having these open spaces in between, and the windows are planned here, so they are shaded. Okay, and no light comes in. No heat comes in, but a lot of light come in, right? So the whole, and these are again your service blocks. So you can see again the service blocks are kept inside, but yet they get the light, ventilation, and the way they have been catered to is like the whole form of that round window comes from the service block. So the whole of your service block is actually, and I'll show you the picture. And this is the famous dialogue that he says: "I do not like pipes." Okay, this is what Louis Kahn said. "I do not like pipes. I do not like ducts. I hate them really thoroughly. But because I hate them so thoroughly, I feel they have to be given their place." हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, उनको उनकी औकात में रखना है. Similarly, if I just hated them and took no care, I think they would invade the building and completely destroy it. And that's exactly what happens when we don't take care of these things like pipes and fittings, okay, and the ducts that goes here and there, and they have to go because I need to give them the comforts in terms of visual, thermal, acoustic, whatever. And so I have to have them. I mean, I cannot say no to them, so they have to be there. And yet, if they have to be there, then I better take care of him. And I don't like them, so you keep them and you give them that place. So they hide there and stay there. Okay, so that was his way of looking at services, and he did that so beautifully that he actually took services, and most of his buildings create forms out of services. Because he is giving them a very designated place, and from that place emerges the form, or you can call them a kind of a language that emerges. And if you see the entire IIM as well as the Salk Institute, the way he has taken the service blocks and given them that space, special space from which the form emerged, is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so this is the basic layout of IIM Bombay. Ahmedabad. If you have not visited, this is how, when next time you go. Have you visited, by the way? Anyone?
Yes, yes, Meenal, they have been to IIM as and Ahmedabad for their study trip in first year.
Oh, acha, I didn't know that. Lovely. So
Yeah.
that's nice. So you already seen this. Awesome.
They
So
have been
I'm
to the auditorium also of Rajesh.
all
I think
right. yeah. So I have the plan and I'll be showing that. So,
Yeah.
right. So these are the services block, the blue that I'm saying, talking about. Okay. The next building we are going to talk about is the typical dormitory building. So the blue one that you can see in the picture here are the service blocks. Okay. So for the offices, they were planned separately. Each office will have its own service block instead of going separately or in a combined kind of a thing. So he was also giving them the comfort of having their own kind of a service instead of, walking long corridors to go to the common public toilet. Okay. So the whole idea was the served places, okay, the served yani the offices, the spaces that require services for them to function well, okay, was given a proper what do you call servants to go along with them. So there were like quick services happening there, and nobody had to really travel long distances to. So even the main toilet that was planned in the earlier building was centrally placed, so all the classrooms could go there, and it kind of became a feature for the plaza, because it has this huge round window. The one which you saw in the beginning was actually the toilet, right? So yeah, so this is the dormitory building. This is how the shape of the building is, while this is the plan. And look at the way the whole plan is, okay? Though it's very, look from outside, it'll look like a square, but and it is actually a square, okay? But the square has been carved in, it like scooped out, and that's how you get this form. So this part you see, actually he could have planned, like a typical another aisa karke idhar thoda sa extended, that would have become like a nominal building. But what he gave it was yahan pe he created again a very his typical slit windows that he goes for, and you can look at the way the lobby is planned. And this is a student accommodation, and student needs to come out, they gather, they talk, kind of a feeling of brotherhood or sisterhood, whatever you call it, okay, comradeship you can say. And the whole the way the staircases are planned, this is whole this is the red one you see is your complete structure element, okay? So it kind of gives you this idea of coming together, and yet the services were taken out, and yet they are centralized. It's not that they are put at one corner, okay, like what we, this is exactly the shape of our building, na KRVI, and you are there, you were there the first year. So you can see in our building we have services at both ends, okay, and nothing happens there. But here he centralized the block, okay, and that is what you see this as a form making thing. And look at the windows that he has planned. You can see these round windows here that is happening, and that's how he actually made the services as a kind of a hero. I would call him as a protagonist, right? So okay, it is there, I need it. So if I need it, then I give it a space, and let's celebrate that. So that's how he entirely planned. Now we talked about public toilet in the second year, right? So in the second year you learned that if you have toilets you will have pipes, okay, and if you have pipes you will need maintenance, okay, and if you need maintenance you need to give me space. Now if you need to give me space, where will you give me the space, and which I need to hide it, I don't need to access that. So if you can see here, okay, can you see my cursor at the side here, aapko ek darwaza dikh raha hai, that is a access to the duct here. You can see that door here. So I need an access to the duct. Now in this entire thing, it looks very stark, no? It looks like, oh my God, there is absolutely nobody will get an even inkling of an idea that there is a huge service block there, right? It looks like a form. It looks like as if the whole thing has been planned as I don't know what, but it kind of gives that very blocky look to it. But if you see there, the whole of the thing is taken care. So this is completely open to sky, okay? And it was open to sky because Ahmedabad was imagined to be very dry space, okay? But even then, if you see it's very, I mean, the services could be taken out, and the whole thing is planned for ladies and gents as well as, okay. So, or maybe this is like one dormitory. I really don't know how the configuration of the dormitories goes there, okay. But I assume that one part is toilet and the other is shower, and I guess this is boys' dormitory, right? So this is how the dormitory was planned, okay. The next building we'll discuss is the library. Library is again, I think, one of the very beautiful building in IIM. It's very pleasant to be inside, and kind of gives you a very good ambience, the beautiful light that enters in. And the light quality is what we are talking about when we talk about library, right? Where you are sitting with a book and you want to read and you concentrate. And that kind of ambience is so important for all these libraries. So that's exactly what he has tried. And you can see the lawn out there, though you cannot see this, it's a complete block up here, but this is what you see here is your toilet block, the blue that I have marked, okay? And you can actually see a duct emerging in the lawn out there, okay? But वो समझता नहीं है, because as he planned the duct for the dormitory, the same kind of ducts are planned here, okay? The light that you get is only from the top, okay? There are no windows, no louvers in that huge chunk of the brick that he has used there. Completely non-visible to the people, or even get an idea that this is where the services are kept, okay? Similar kind of a thing he has taken care on the other side of the building, okay? The central is that huge kind of a beautiful staircase, spiral kind of a thing going on. It's not actually a spiral kind of a thing, but it's like that round where you can, you know, and in between connectors. I mean, if you have been there, I'm sure you know what it is. The way he has planned the entrance, the windows, again, as I said, was all towards the idea that the library should get maximum light, okay, and ambient, okay? So that was how the whole, so these are main structural element as well as your movement element and service element, okay? Yeah. uh, I hope you recall what you went there and saw, and I hope you are imagining if you are planning an auditorium in your spaces, individual chosen site. If these are some of the inspirational ideas that you can take from many of the architects that I'll be showing you, another three architects that I'll be talking about, well, I hope then I consider this lecture as successful. Now look at this, okay? This is an auditorium not designed by Louis Kahn. This is designed by Anantaraje, Ravi Mathai Auditorium. Again, followed the same kind of a language, okay? He did not deviate from it. So again, that's a call he took, okay? And Ainsley always talks about taking a call. The whole training of being an architect and you know, training you to from the technical point of view as well as from the design point of view and knowing the history and all that is for you to take a decision, for you to arrive or to say that yes, this is something that I want, okay? And for that you need to have some very strong principle bolo ya fir usko aap discipline bolo ya whatever you say, okay? Or your beliefs. Sometimes they are sustainable, they may not be sustainable, but it's something that you strongly believe in, okay? A lot of buildings have come up, and though we know that they need to be sustainable, though we know they need to be, the prime need to be, you know, having all these sustainable kind of attributes to it, but sometimes, you know, the other demands are there, okay? Where say it's a heritage precinct or maybe some other reasons, you might have to deviate a little bit from there, okay? So that taking a stand was very important. The reason I'm saying is Anantaraje took that stand and he followed the same kind of a language which Louis Kahn set up strongly on the campus, and that's why you see that the whole campus has this kind of a similar look. Imagine he had gone out of way and done something here, okay? Probably if Zaha Hadid got this, I don't know what would have happened here, and then how the campus would have looked, okay? We don't know, okay? But yeah, so this is the auditorium, how it looks, okay? And this is the plan. This is a two-story kind of a thing. It's a very small kind of an auditorium planned for the students of IIM. So it's not that one of those huge kind of auditoriums that Jimmy showed you some few pictures last time. Okay, so this is how the whole thing was. And you can see it's so geometrical, right? Completely like octagonal, hexagon kind of a stuff. And nobody would plan a building like this, okay? But look at the way the whole thing has emerged out of it. And the same kind of care has been taken by Anantaraje as was done by the Louis Kahn. So you can see all the green and the red thing that I marked. They are all the places or the designated places. I would use the word not just the places, but a given space for the services where, so all the nooks and corners, when you make these kind of strong geometrical kind of a plan, you will get these kind of, you know, teda meda, like all these kind. But these are the spaces where he has used them for duct purposes, where you have to run your electrical ducts, your toilet ducts, your AC ducts. This is an auditorium. And it's a closed auditorium. You can see that it does not have any opening outside. Okay, that means it is completely air conditioned. So you need to have your AC plant rooms or your HUs or a package room, whatever system he has used. We will discuss that in the next year. But this is basically a planning of an auditorium where you enter from here. Okay, the entrance lobby. This is the ground floor plan. The entrance lobby happens here. The way and you saw in the previous picture those huge round kind of a thing. So you enter from there. Okay, these are the small courtyards that happen on the side. So where you look out. or you can just feel the greens there, okay? And then the general, which we discussed in our acoustic classes, you have the foyer, you have the staircases going up, okay? The 11 is your seminar hall, you have storages, you have waiting rooms. So you can see the detailed part of it. These pictures are available online, plus you have been there. So I'm not going to take up more time in this kind of a lecture. If you want, we can do this or discuss this in detail. But what I'm trying to say here is focus on the way the shape has come out, the campus reality, and then how the services are being taken care of, and how well the whole thing has come together to give a very beautiful building. Yeah. So these are the service blocks. So the two rooms that you see here are the AC plant rooms. Yeah, and the next building that I'm going to talk about is about an Indian architect, very well-known architect, okay, Ashok Lal, who have visited our college. I'm sure you heard him, listened to him. Very recently, he was there along with Neelkant Chaya. Okay, so we did have that this thing. So you heard him, right? This is the building done by him. It's an Indian Institute of Health Management, Jaipur. Very beautifully planned and completely planned in a way where sustainability was like the leader. And from there, all the services that he derived, all the materiality that he got, all the kind of language he derived was keeping climate in consideration, okay, which I'm sure Kimaya will talk in detail when she does it next time, okay. But this is how the campus was planned, and these were some of very strong contenders for fighting ki whether should I be the first or whether you should be the first. So construction technology was at par, material and crafts was at par. This is Jaipur, and we are talking about beautiful craftsmanship in Jaipur, and the way he utilized it was completely in a way that kind of gave beauty to the building, okay. Quickly, I'll just go. So the construction technology was extremely ecological. The reason is they used the material available there, and also the people there. So they knew that this is how this stone will work, and that's why the technology that emerged, or the technique that emerged, was in par with the local language. Local material Jaipur ka hi hai, okay. So it has cultural sustainability as well as embedded energy that we always talk in EVS class, okay. Landscape, again, the same kind of lawns here, trying to save water. This is in Jaipur, again, a very dry region where we do not have rains. So this is again not the lawn as we have lawn, okay. These are the simple Indian grass which grows without the need for the water. So there is no sprinklers set up here. There are no landscape or the drip irrigation that is maintained here, okay. The most of the trees, mostly all the trees that have been planted here are native, okay. They belong there, and if they belong there, they know that they don't have water and they thrive without water. So the whole landscape was planned keeping maximum water conservation and heat reflection in mind. Orientation, of course, achieving maximum shade at a critical time. So this was, you can see, this is like bright 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, but you can see majority of the building is in shade, okay. So that was how the building was oriented, and I'll show you the plan. Achieving maximum shade at critical time, and fenestration was put, and I'll show that in detail so that you understand what I meant, okay. It was minimum because this is extremely hot and dry, and we don't want the sun to come in, okay. And also it's very dry, okay. So but they were very strategically placed, and that's how the whole language was evolved, okay. This is how the major campus plan is, where you have the water kind of a channel happening, and this was the main kind of a thing, and he celebrated that, okay. So the seasonal water drainage jo bhi tha, okay, from the side, he designed the landscape and the topography in a way that the kind of thing was the entire water would drain into this channel and kind of fill it up, okay. Of course, it will not stay there. This was a kind of a channel which will take the water away, but essentially it would either recharge the ground or it would be collected somewhere and be taken up somewhere. It meant that it was not put to the city use. It was utilized somewhere, okay. The parkways were planned on southwest side. So if you see, this is the north, okay. Upar wala north hai. That means niche wala south hai, and on this side is the southwest. Now we know that we get maximum sun in the south and the west. So southwest, west, and south is something I need to protect. And if you can see the maximum, the way he has planned the trees, and they're all native trees, okay. are all on the south and the west side. So automatically all my buildings get protected, right? The north side is completely left open. You can see it's absolutely without any trees. So I get lovely morning light. This was again a health management kind of. So again, there are lots of not only the actual the health but there were also classrooms and people were getting training here. So basically it's a training come kind of a health related center. And these are the again the faculty blocks, or sorry, the residential blocks, where this is the main institutional building. So people would stay here and they would just cross. There would be these bridges, very romantic kind of a situation. It's like a campus. You have this water, you have these bridges. On one side you stay, the other side you study. It was a very kind of a homey, cozy kind of a campus planned. Okay. The parkways were planned on the south. Again, as we say, parkways are the ones where you have the landscape planned, okay, not the parking way. Please understand, okay, this is not parking. Which cool the incoming southwest winds, and further on winds could and further as the wind moved, it cooled over this, plus it gave the humidity, and that's how the institutional building functioned. Okay, so this was how the whole planning was done. You can also see the greens in between. So these are the these central courts, and you can see the way the vision was tied together. So visually you can see that, oh, there are these different courtyards happening. So it was overall the whole, it was not just about sustainability, it was also about design. And here also, if you see, you can see the way he has planned is, again, he has taken a very strong form of octagon, where again the services are on those corners where these kind of obtuse angles are created, where you don't know what to do, where you hide your services. Okay, so that's how the entire plan emerged. These are some of the details where he has taken care of how you would go about it. Quickly, I'll just go by. So he has used lots of precast concrete jali. Jali is one of the very famous, and we know Jaipur is known for its jali work and the intricate work and craftsmanship. Okay, so he has used those, but he has used precast. Okay. The kind of stone he has used is the pink Jaipur stone, the terrazzo boards for desktops. So all the material are from the leftover side, or the salvage material, or the material which are very easily done or used from the waste material. So those kind of, some of the local and sustainable materials were used, okay, for are used for low embedded energy, such as terrazzo boards for desktops and shelves, IPS flooring, Indian patent stone. I hope you understand what is it. Okay, you did that in your construction first year. It's the easiest way of doing, and you get a very cooling effect out of that. In situ worktops and storages. So nowhere you see heavy use of ply or teak wood or kind of stuff. The material came from there and came from the wastages. Okay, ventilator below sill. Okay, you can see this. You can see this. The ventilator below sill. You can see this. Okay. So this is where the cool winds would come in, okay, and this was actually blocked. The jali would be, so you can see here, the jali would come out like this, and the jali was placed here. So the light that entered was very, very filtered kind of a light, okay. So that was how the entire thing was planned. And you can see again, whatever thing was planned, it had a veranda. On the, if you see the next picture, it had a veranda, okay, which again did not allow the these things to happen. So these are some of the ways he has taken care of services within. Yeah, so again, the whole building is shaded by these kind of places. Okay, the next building we are going to talk about is Lloyd's building. Okay, this is in England. Lloyd's, well, they were one of the famous kind of investment company dealing with shares and all that, right? Insurance kind of it, not shares, sorry, insurance. One of the oldest kind of its kind, I mean, it emerged from there, very famous. And they had a very old building, and they were planning to expand, and they wanted to set an example. Imagine an old, like 1800 something plus, in the year 1800 something plus company wanting to change its image from a very old setup to an extremely high-tech technology. And they approach Sir Roger Richards, and this is what we get. Okay, here if you see, okay, services like what Louis Kahn did, okay, Louis Kahn used to hide services. Okay, he would say, but hide in a manner which evolved as a form. Okay, while here it's exactly opposite. What you saw in, I mean, you all know about Pompidou Center, which was again done by Renzo Piano and Richard Rogers. While this was solely done by Richard Rogers, you can see that the same kind of concepts are being used. Completely, hero is the services. Okay, it's a protagonist. It's a form deriving element that happened where whole of the services were like bang on the surfaces, and you can like come and see me. It was like that kind of a statement the buildings made. This was how the building is. On all three sides you have the roads. Okay, very prominent building, and it is. And if you saw the surrounding buildings, they were like well-to-do buildings. Okay, it's in a good area. You have three entrances. Okay, again you see this. These are your form deriving elements, and these are your service blocks. And I'll show you the plan in detail. Okay, services as a protagonist, like a Pompidou Center. All the services, like services में क्या क्या हो सकता है? Staircases, lifts, ductwork, electrical power conduits, water pipes, or क्या? Anything else that needs to be there in such a powerful building were all put on the surfaces. Okay, not in a duct. They were all exposed. Okay, so yes, it kind of made a very strong statement that year. Also, one of the things that happened in this building at that point of time was some 12 lifts. Okay, and they were all glass lifts. You understand the glass lifts that we talk about. Okay, they were introduced here, and I think they were the first of the kind of their kind in United Kingdom. So that was another innovation thing that was used here. This is again a diagrammatic way of expressing services as the hero. So the whole diagram was created, okay, where very clearly the derivation of the form emerged from the services. So this was how the building looked, and this was a diagrammatic way of saying that this is how the building is planned. And you can see all different colors used for different services. I really don't know, but the greens are used for AC ducts. Okay, I guess these are the lift blocks or the toilet blocks. Okay, so we'll see that in the plan. But this was basically a diagrammatic way of deriving a form for the building. The next slide is all about the whole plan. So basically, what was Lloyd's? Lloyd's was, as I told you, was an insurance company. Okay, it was one of its kind, and it had a very massive requirement, and a lot of people would come in there. Okay, it was investment, insurance, you call it whatnot. Okay, and in those days when the computers were not there, the internet was not there, the transactions used to happen personally, and it needed that kind of a huge space. Okay, and that was where the idea derived, that if I need uninterrupted huge space, just like what lab was required in the Salk Institute here, but that was a very narrowish, long kind of a rectangle. Here you can see the whole the scale has changed here. Okay, but again, essentially, if you see the central, so this is again the served kind of a place. Okay, where all the services. So if I go next, okay, the building. So these are all my services. Where blue are the larger chunks, where the toilets and a larger kind of, because toilet requires space, right? If I'm talking about taking up the AC ducts, probably they won't require so much of space. Versus if I say if I have to house toilets for such a large area, and even and if you can go online and see what Lloyd's building, it is crowded. Okay, it has so much of capacity to hold people. The floating population is tremendous there, and they needed these kind of toilets. So every block you can see has a toilet block, and the space is this much. So these, and of course when you have the toilet nearby, it also had a kind of fire safety, because as we know that, and you will do this in the next semester, okay, the fire fighting and the safety precautions in a building. So this was how the whole building was planned, and these are the places where fire escapes would happen. These were the normal staircases would happen, plus there was a lift block planned here. So lifts, your AC ducts, everything was within this 6 zones that was planned here. Okay, this was the served area, and this was the so it was an underwriting room. The technical jargon of that large room was known as the underwriting room. Okay, is overlooked by all the, and on top of it, you can see this is the atrium here. Okay, you will see that in the form that will come up. I'll show you that. So this is the atrium, and all these galleries that happen above. So the 4 floors you have is a completely atrium. Okay, you do not have anything above. The galleries and the other rooms start happening after the fourth building. Okay, so if this is it, again, I'm just sorry. Okay, so these are again another way of showing you that these are the served zone, and these are the yeah, sorry, I'll just repeat it. I'm sorry, the slide is repeated, but I'm already going to the next slide, and this is where we are talking about how that rectangle was actually planned as in section. So you can see the whole building is stepping. It is stepping something towards north and something towards south. I don't know exactly how many. I think 12 stories to the north and some 6 stories to the south. Now, obviously, we need a good north light to get the diffuse light inside. Okay, but at the same time, we are talking about UK, where the weather is very cold. Okay, windy and not very comfortable most of the time. So the idea was to get maximum sun in, and that's the reason why if you saw those very, and so if you saw the building in the previous picture, it had that very nice kind of a old architecture arch there, but at the same time you had a high tech kind of pipes coming out. It was a mix of utilizing both these features to make the building come alive. Yeah, so if you see this, the north light was as a stepping down to 6 stories to the south. Okay, stepping form to allow maximum sunlight. Okay, and not only this, it also allowed all the other features. Some of the other features are, of course, the lighting load was reduced drastically by giving such a large atrium there. Okay, the second one was the atrium. The job of the atrium, it increased the volume as well as the surface area as it progresses towards south. So it was not a planned. It was like one box, like an atrium. The whole of the atrium kind of expands towards the south and kind of increases the area for the sun to come in. The office level increases northward, okay, allowing a large surface area for diffuse light coming from the north. Okay, and every location in the building is located within 7 meters from a natural source of light. Now, I have not been personally to this building inside. I have seen this building from outside, but so this I have taken information from a source. Okay, where the whole these diagrams were there, and one of the things they came over very strongly was a very strong use of a natural daylight completely possible in the building. Okay, diffuse light reaching the room demonstrates the success of the atrium, and you will see in the coming pictures. Okay, so you can see this is how the entire thing is planned. This whole thing is glass, and as I was saying, this is the atrium. So on the top you have the galleries which are overlooking the atrium. Okay, नीचे का 4 floors छोड़ के ऊपर के सारे floors were packed up. They were not open to atrium. Okay, they were conditioned kind of spaces, but niche ke 4 areas were like open. So when you are walking in that, what was the word, underwriting room, okay, you can see this huge 4 floors high and a large kind of a served space that was being planned for them. So this was how the whole building was planned. This is a plan of the service floor. Okay, the next slide that I'm going to talk about is the service floor planning, and you saw those modules that were jutting out of the building. Okay, from the main building. So this was how the entire planning was done. So you can see the blue things, that those pipes, that huge pipes that they were going, those were, you can see these pipes that you see. Okay, so these pipes are your AC pipes that were happening, and this is marked here. So these are your large service duct containing air conditioning, running vertically down the towers and connected into the each level of the building. As I said, this is a large room, and no matter how good you are at, but you saw the depth of the building, right? So even if I plan for natural ventilation, it is possible that in the center it can turn into. And plus here we are not only talking about cooling the building, it's more about heating the building. Okay, so the conditioning was not just about cooling, it was also about heating it. And they have systems there which does both of this. We'll do this next year. So this was how the whole thing was planned. Also you can see these are the toilets here, the lifts here, and this is just this is where you enter, and the this area is where the main underwriting room starts. So whole of this kind of gave, you can see this happening here, the whole of this area was this. right? This is again a diagrammatic way of showing how the building was diagrammatized, and then kind of into the, you know, the services were planned or thought about, or as a form derivation element, and then the building was planned. Okay, the towers carry major plant rooms on the top. Okay, so all you can see this bulk of thing on it. Yahan pe you can see the square box sitting right on the top. Okay, that is where your major plant rooms are. Okay, now in theory we try to tell you that the major plant rooms are put in a basement, okay, or for the easy accessibility, plus the load is reduced, blah blah blah. Okay, there are other reasons for it. Okay, but if the technology is available, you are aware of the principles, if you know that there are systems where probably I will require to put things on the top, then go ahead. Okay, this is something for every architect to understand, that they have to go and do the research, and that's exactly what he did. Okay, during that, I mean, this was like in 90s this was done. These are all the plant rooms. Plant rooms means you will have your AC plant rooms, heating rooms there, boilers there. Since we are talking about heating as well as cooling, so all the plant rooms were done. Okay. The other very unusual part of this building is all the service blocks. There were 6 service blocks. All the service blocks had cranes on top of it. Okay, because you saw that there were no jutting out staircases coming out. The only way to access and do the repairs on those kind of thing, or any kind of roof that was there, you saw that curved roof, the cranes were used. Okay, so yeah, and you will see in the picture again. So you can also see one crane here. Okay, you can see this part of the crane here. So that's how the entire building was planned. 4 towers carry major plant rooms with main services running vertically down the towers and connected into each level. Smaller ducts are water, drains, electricity, power, data, server, jo bhi hai. Okay. This is just a section of a room, or rather I would say a cross section, where it's talking about the next slide. I'm talking about the next slide is not yet changed. I guess there is a lag. Okay, so you can see this. You see the pink line? That is the duct which is extracting the air. The air extract karna matlab used air. Okay, so people are there, machines are there, so many things happening together, and we all give out carbon dioxide, which kind of mucks the air. So I need to take them out. So that's what ventilation is all about, right? So it takes the heat as well as the carbon dioxide out. And नीचे से आप देख रहे हो, this is displaced air movement. यहाँ से you will start giving me the conditioned air distribution. Now, generally, you will see in auditoriums, you will see this in hotels or in malls. Okay, air conditioning is placed on the top. Okay, so this is known as a displaced air conditioning, and we will do this all in detail. Don't worry what is all this, but let me tell you, when we do from the top, what happens is we are air conditioning the whole volume, and we are wasting a lot of energy, because what happens is my height, I mean, the human height is 2.1 or maybe just 1.8. Nobody is 7 feet tall, very rarely. But idea is 1.8 is what I would require as my conditioned area, right? Above that, why should I condition and waste my energy? So what happens is, if I do from the top, the whole room gets air conditioned and I lose a lot of energy. When I do that from the, so if the conditioned air comes from below, first of all, I don't need to be very strong. Okay, it can be gentle, so I can cut down the cost on going for high temperatures. That is one. Second, while this thing is happening, you know that the air is heavier when it is cold, so it will be there, you know, it will stay there till it gets utilized, become warm, and as it becomes warm, it will automatically go up because it turns lighter. So as it goes up, okay, it will be sucked from this extraction duct and will be taken out. So the idea is you save, it's a very sustainable method. It's called as an air displacement method. And this is what was adopted in this building. Okay, so this is the blue one is the supply duct. Okay, and extracted duct is the one. Now remember what I told you, the AC plant room. वो ये जो ducts है, this will go to your AC plant room. Okay, and the AC plant room was planted at the top of the building, and I need these ducts to go all the way up. These are the ducts you see on the elevation, right? So this is how the entire planning was done. Also, if I extract this duct, you see the pink turns into the red. Okay, now these were known as a perimeter extraction duct. It kind of were between the two, and the window that was used was a clear double glazed window. And Kimaya talked about this in second year, first year, I do not know, but somewhere I'm sure she has talked about using double glazed window for better insulation, for better kind of, making the inside very compact from outside, especially in cold regions where you need this kind of insulation. It's little costlier, but far more effective when I'm talking about long-term use. This was exactly how it was used between the two. This thing, these kind of air was taken. So it was using this as a gateway. Okay, so this was all about Lloyd's. This is, I guess, the last building that I'm going to talk. I'll just take 5 minutes more and I'm done. We know this building. Okay, I love this building. One of its kind, beautiful design, a very innovative design, I would say, and done so beautifully and so simply. If you see the plan, the way the whole plan has come up, it's beautiful. Okay, this is Kanchenjunga apartment at Bridge Candy, Bombay. This was how the building was conceptualized. Okay, these are the flats varieties, typology A, B, C, D. There were 4 typologies here. Some of them were smaller flats, some of them were large flats, some of them were medium size. So it was like 1 bedroom, hall kitchen, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and terraces were there. So based on the typology, the idea of using different typology. Generally, हम क्या करते हैं ना, in the housing, all the 1 bedroom will be in one, all the 2 bedroom will be alag, and if we do that, and that is generally how it is planned, especially in a redevelopment where the habitable, the people you need to rehabilitate would be of one kind, while the people who are sellable component would be of another kind. Okay, even though if they are one above the other, it's kind of so this was how he purposely joined these different typologies together to get a kind of a form that emerged, and you will see that in the planning. Plus, here he is trying to show that all these blue, red, yellows are basically the places, like these are the terrace areas, or you can say the service areas, which allowed the wind to move through the building. Okay, and the whole building has lots and lots of terraces. We all know that. Okay, I'm sure you have seen this building. If not, lockdown is, I guess, still 4 o'clock. Take your call and go and see this building. Okay, this was how the typology. I'll quickly go. I'll not go into the detail. Okay, this is typology A, where you can see the yellow part is the terraces. Okay, these are the kitchen. This is the kitchen, and this is my entire, the blue kinds. The blue thing that is marked here are my services area. So in the service area, you can see that this is the main staircase that goes up and down throughout the building. Also, this works as a fire escape because it has a door. Okay, it has a lift there, and it has all these kind of ducts there. Okay, so everything is taken care of here. This staircase that you see here is the internal staircase. So most of the flats are in duplex, and that's where he used typology to arrive at this duplex business. Okay, where one flat will go into the top area and niche you will get a terrace or something like that. So that's how he managed the entire the building ka shape. The whole thing was derived. But if you just see this, okay, and if you just see this area, the service area remains the constant, and they are actually the structural component also, and I'll show you that in the next plan. Okay, this is typology B. Quickly, I'll just go by again. These are the service areas. Okay, I have not highlighted here because it was very common here, but these are the services area. And now when I say services, you see this gray part that I have marked here. Okay, now the gray part is not service area. These are the kind of a chotusa balconies that are coming out. Okay, which gives me kind of a diffuse light as well as the ventilation possible. Also, at the same time, if it is happening in the kitchen, it gives that drying out balcony. And all my, most of the residential in India, we have this problem of drying clothes. So, there is another term emerging known as a window architecture. How you design your windows that all these hanging clothes can be hidden. Is there a way we can have drying balconies so that the elevations are not disturbed by these kind of elements? So these are some of the things that, go into kind of arriving at a form, right? So he very consciously decided that this is what he wanted, and these kind of spaces, especially where toilets and kitchen were planned, it helped in hiding all this. So you will never see a cloth hanging from Kanchenjunga. because the space was provided for it. Yeah. Apartment C, again, this is, I guess, a smaller kind. I have not marked out these areas, but you can, because the focus was not in understanding the typology of the building. The focus was how the entire form was derived by keeping the entire services as the kind of a fixed, and then how do you rotate these plans, you know? So somewhere he created voids, somewhere he gave the terraces where it became double height, and that's where the whole form oriented. But nowhere he compromised on services. In fact, the services, the way he provided, it gave these extra areas where it can hide away, as I already said what I. And these are just the typologies, various four together, and the side picture which is told that how they are fusing into one another. Okay, so B mixes with A, and that's how you get this double height space and all that. And the best part was understanding this building in the section that you see here, and you can see the sections going up and down, and they are not even double height actually. They're just 1.5 or maybe just 0.5 or something like that, you know. I mean, if you sit and do this in detail, you will understand how the entire form was done, essentially keeping the service block. And if you can see, this whole area, okay, is your service block, and look at the way it has been derived. Okay, so that's how, or maybe the other side where you have those round windows happening, those were the service ducts. So that's how the entire thing was done. And you can see these are the terraces that he achieved by mixing two kinds of houses. So obviously when I have this, the next part would be the single floor. There will be no duplex there. Okay, but again, on the top there was a duplex plan. So that's how he played with the form and got this. Okay, the next is about okay, let me write it. Okay, so the next plan is talking about this. Okay, where the structure, how we took care of the structure. Sorry, where if you can see, this was a building, and the red things that you see are the main shear walls or the columns that was there, and you can see that this is becoming the core of the building. Okay, so structure was used to kind of give the strength, and the services kind of was fused in the same line. So this actually becomes my core. And you can see maximum structure happening here, while these are the places where it gives the, so it becomes like a square, you know, like a medical sign, while this are the places where terraces can happen. So all the thing that you see here are the places where the terraces will happen, and that's how the whole thing was planned. Structure, services, places, design, typology. This is integration that we are talking about now. Yeah, the material used was reinforced structural thing. I think this was the first time where a slip construction technology was used in India, where you do part of the building, the core continues and it continues. So the different kind of technology was used. The central core kind of, and see, this was it has coastal view. It had issue of lateral load, of wind load coming in. So that's why the shear walls took care of that. So that was how the whole building was visualized structurally, taking care of the loads as well as taking care of the design. And with this, thank you so much. That was the last slide. Any questions, guys? I stop sharing. I hope I completed, right? 9:15. I said 1 hour. I did 1 hour. Yay. Anyone? Any questions? I know I went a little fast, but I wanted to finish on time. No questions? Very good. Any faculty?
No, I think you covered several examples which automatically the students can review and look at, and then they can actually state their position in terms of architecture. Guys, for example, in the SOC Institute, it was the understanding Someone's mic is on. Yeah, in the SOC Institute, it was the architect's understanding of the laboratories and how he realized that basically you need a complete space for that activity, and then the services need not interfere with the activity. So he pulls it out of the building, etc., etc. While on the other hand, you see Raj's work wherein you'll have been to that auditorium, and I remember talking to you all, and I showed you all the concrete ceiling, okay, where very little acoustic paneling is used inside. So he's actually technically understood how sound travels within an auditorium, and he's used concrete as a material within the space. Okay, it's a very different kind. Today, when we talk about auditoriums, we actually load it with so much of the material which is acoustically appropriate. Okay, whether it's reflective surfaces or absorbing surfaces. But here, Raji has been very careful to kind of look at the proportion of that. So I think, it depends on the stand you all are taking, each of you all. I mean, in the brief we have given you all, we have said that probably the auditorium can be actually used with air conditioning, or you can actually use natural ventilation. So, I mean, many of y'all may want to focus on that. Some of y'all might want not to focus on that and look at other issues. Fair enough. But that's the stand each of you are taking, which is very important in this first few weeks, because today we'll be actually looking at the plan of your building, and as we go along it'll get crystallized. But this is, as architects, we have to actually be very clear that this is what we want to address in this building. Maybe in the next building you might do something else. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole variety of projects, right from Ashok Lal's project, etc., etc. And every time she bounced between the planning of the building and the idea of services. Okay, so please uh, be aware that these are the issues you have to look at. Yeah. So I think there are two questions. Someone's put up their hand.
I just wanted to clarify. I didn't want to. I didn't take the auditorium ka case studies here for the simple reason is I am yet to cover the acoustic theory
Yeah, yeah.
and the details that I have planned, or the case studies that I have planned did talk about acoustic. So I was going to take that anyway in the acoustic class. So that
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
reason
cool.
I
I mean,
thought telling them about general idea about services in other buildings as well could be could help them to arrive at some kind of language.
yeah, so the thing is that they visited the building, so I think they can relate to it.
Take to-
So
yeah,
I mean, if in case they want to go ahead and study it further, that's a possibility. Yeah.
yeah.
So Gargi has a question.
Anybody has a question?
Yeah,
Gargi and Shravan.
yeah, I actually wanted to ask, like, in one of the buildings, I guess it was Lloyd's building, where the services are on the exterior. So,
Hmm.
like, when we talk about institutional buildings, how functional can it be? Because whenever I think about laying out services, it gets really complicated. And then if we lay out the services on the exterior, I find it quite complicated. So how does it work in institutional buildings? Like,
Okay, so you saw the Lloyd's building. It was an institutional building, right? It was a insurance building, which is an
yeah.
institution or call it commercial building, whatever. So the way it was planned was, so what happens? So it needed air conditioning. That was the biggest kind of services that happened because where a toilet is concerned, you require a toilet and a duct, and the duct will take away all the water pipes and the sewage pipes and everything, and will taken out. So it is one place where it doesn't have to move, right? Similarly, with the kind of staircases or the lift, they will move in that one position itself. Not so with the air conditioning and electricity. Electricity needs to be taken to all parts of the building. Air conditioning has to be taken to all parts of the building, because you need to ventilate the entire building internally, right? And not only just ventilate it, but make it comfortable thermally, okay, as well as keep it filtered and all that kind of. That's why we say conditioned air, right? So when I'm talking about taking the ducts inside, okay, that's why there were 3 ducts planned. Because when I'm talking about taking these huge ducts inside a building, they will have to travel long distances, and that means that the sizes of the ducts will increase. I will have to calculate, I meaning the structure, the air conditioning consultant, okay, who will be helping you with that. He will be there to take care of the sizes and the velocity of the air, and what kind of the capacity, the instruments will be there. All those things will be taken care of them. But initially, planning may, you will need to have a thumb rule kind of an idea to understand that if you are planning, say, the duct length of some 50-40 meters, then probably the sizes will go so high. And to cut down that, he gave those 3 chota sa, you saw the green ones, okay? Those were the air conditioning ducts where he would plug that in. So the length of the ducts would reduce and everything would happen from outside. In fact, that becomes easier rather than having centrally and then pushing it out. But there are these are the takes and architecture. So if you see most of the high-rise buildings, like residential or commercial buildings, planned like what the fourth year is doing right now. They are taking the case studies of high-rise and they are doing it. The most of the core, or rather the services, is planned centrally, and building then just goes out. So if you take Beirut Tower done by Herzog Miron, okay, the whole services is the structural core as well as the service core. Everything, your lifts, your air conditioning, your staircase, your electrical duct, any other services that needs to go around. It's a basically residential tower. And then you have your toilets and everything, and the flat can then go out, they can come in, because now you don't have the botheration of services to be in a fixed place. That is happening centrally. Ho chuka. So now you can play with your form and structure. Once you are there, all you need to then do is work with the form. So that is how people, I mean, plan. I mean, these are some of the conceptual ideas where either you take services from in to out, or you take from out to in. But essentially, you need to keep in mind that these are services. It requires movements of goods or elements. In some case, it is water. In some case, it is air. In some case, it is electricity. They need to run the distances. And as a efficient energy planner, if you take the help of a consultant, all will say minimum the run, better the energy saved. And that's how the external plugin help them to cut short the distances internally.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
It is, I mean, it is pretty difficult to actually convince a client to to uh, to to kind of display the services on the facade. Like if the one of the first buildings to kind of do that was Pompidou Center by Renzo Piano and Richard Rogers. Okay, uh, it's not easy. When you'll get into practice, you'll understand most of the stuff which we are talking about. So think about it. And it has to have very good reason, whatever. I mean, then it'll make a big difference. Yeah. So think about it. Shravan, your question.
I feel mine would be too open-ended. I don't know if I should ask it right now.
Ask it. Don't feel shy.
So when we're talking about like a building that integrates services well, what
Hmm.
are like a few benchmarks that we can talk about? Like, okay, yeah, this it's integrated the services well, aesthetically, functionally, everything. Like, are there a few certain benchmarks, like rules of thumb we have? Because it's always a subjective answer, but is there like a rule of thumb we can follow?
I'll tell you one thing. Services is an active part of functioning of the building. Okay, and we have been talking to you about passive integration in first year, second year. We did EVS. Okay, and where we talking about natural ventilation, daylight, natural, allowing the wind movements, and how would you then place your fenestration, which gives you a nice cross ventilation, blah blah blah. When we talk about services in a higher kind of a institute level, or at a deep kind of structure, where you need to go for a high kind of advanced services like air conditioning or hot water system, or maybe even fewer other kinds, okay, The whole and sole idea is, and let me tell you this, if suppose I require 100 rupees to, I mean, I'm just giving a very stupid example, but yeah, if I require 100 rupees to build a building, 25 would be the construction cost, 75 would be its maintenance and operating cost. Okay. And I'm talking about its life cycle assessment costing, not just one time or 1 year. This is life cycle, costing का मैं बात कर रही हूँ. In such a scenario, you know that the services are going to be there and they are active, so it requires maintenance, it requires it kind of constant kind of look into, and that means it costs money. Okay, in not only terms of labor, time consuming this thing, but also in terms of energy. So the benchmark should be how well services are to be integrated, not only with the planning. So hey, you saw that beautiful plans can emerge if you take good care of your services, and can become a benchmark kind of a building. So not only aesthetically, but they have to be done very sustainably, because there are recurring costs day after day, months after months, and year after year. And who pays it? The client pays it. Okay. Or in some cases, the multiple client pays it if it's a commercial area or somebody. So it is a job of an architect to look into the sustainable aspects of services, because they are recurring cost year after year. And integration definitely helps in cutting down the cost, cutting down the time when you are conceptualizing the building, because the way the construction then happens, imagine something after the construction is done, and you know that services requires going things up and down, so you will have to cut your slab, and I'm sure Neeraj is here to tell you what will happen if you have to cut through a slab or a beam. It's just not done, right? It's dangerous for the building. So you need to either plan it prior to, I mean, while you are doing your working drawing, all these things should come up. So imagine you are doing your working drawings, exactly what we'll be telling you, and taking this studio ahead. Uh, while you are planning your drawings and building and designing, these things need to be in place. So these are some of the benchmarks that must be followed.
It
Did
really
I,
depends on so many aspects, Shravan. So yes, your question is open-ended, but there are so many aspects uh, like Meenal is talking about the life cycle of a building and the maintenance costs, etc., etc. Sometimes clients get a damn of that for that. Okay. I mean, as you go into senior years, you'll be taught about embodied energy in the materials. Okay, these are new ideas which we're talking about, which kind of mitigate the issues of climate change. And you may push as much as you want, but clients may not really be interested in this kind of debate. So you like, for example, this idea of using sustainable materials and materials which are very much found within a certain radius of the project, just to ensure that not too much energy is consumed to kind of bring the material to site. क्लाइंट्स कह रहे डैम जैसे मेरे को स्वीडन से वो लकड़ा लाने का है वो and that's because they have aspirations and various kind of things. So it's a difficult kind of cookie to kind of understand. And yeah, as architects we have to deal with all these issues. Yeah, so whatever. And it becomes like Louis Kahn often said, a camel is a horse designed by a committee. Okay, and because of that, the camel has a hump and it has padded legs and whatever, padded feet. But the what he clearly says is that basically, because you have a committee of say 10 members or 5 members or 7 members, each one gives their gyan. Okay, and it becomes so difficult to kind of please all of them and the egos which are there, etc., etc., and you end up with a project which will look like a camel. So I mean, there are lots of issues when you get to architecture. So when you actually start practicing, you will realize it is a tough profession, you know because everyone can, like, if you go to a doctor and a doctor says you're going to die in like 3 months, you will take him seriously. Okay, Of course, we take for a second opinion. There's other guy will say you'll die in 2.5 months, but eventually you're going to die. But with architecture, everyone can give their 2 paisa. Even the maid in the house can give their ideas about architecture. So you have to understand that it's a very difficult profession in that sense. Yeah.
Jimmy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I would. I think Meenal Nawaz wants to talk to you something. Yeah. No, so I'm glad that other than the other services that you covered, I'm glad that you did show, like Ainsley did say, Rajesh Auditorium that is there, very form based, strong, very strong geometry. And I'm also glad to hear that the students have visited Ahmedabad earlier. So they have actually experienced that. So in plan, so by showing that plan, you understand how systematically the shell vis-a-vis the core and the service areas are planned around it. But naturally, if you have visited the auditorium, you'd gather how he's used he's not relied on additional acoustical material and flashy materials, or all the kind of things that you see in other auditoriums in order to make the interior of the auditorium uh, attractive, aesthetically pleasing. Here he has yet worked with the ideology of the form finished concrete, uh, just raw timber, yeah, very simple seats, and the form of the false ceiling has come from the formwork, from the staggered formwork, or the slab that itself is there to span. So what I'm trying to say is that showing it in plan is one thing. You being able to go there, visit it, and I hope you remember, is another part to it. And the other idea is that IIM has a certain language, okay, certain postmodernist language with semicircular arches, brick facades, and the building opposite the IIM. I do not know the IIM campus. That is the AMA campus. Yeah, sleek building, very sleek concrete building. Yeah, large glass facades. A building, I do not know if what time of the day you did visit. If you visit that building in evening, it's an entrepreneur center, so people come in for evening classes. The large glass windows light up, whereas the form finished concrete goes into the background. It just merges with the night. If you haven't seen images of AMA at night, do Google search it. Bottom line, the language counts. Yeah, the identity, and these are all city projects. Yeah, these are city projects done in two different eras, and they convey completely different kind of urban life, urban urban insert. It talks about urban involvement. Yeah, one by the side of the road, one within a campus. Just how the building is placed itself makes a lot of difference. And then, but naturally, I spoke yesterday about Tagore Hall. We did see someone did post photographs of Tagore Hall. I think it was Shravan. Yeah, Tagore Hall has its own kind of dynamics with the structure, with the core, with the folded plates, big portals. Yeah. So the call is yours, how you'd want the building to shape. And I'm glad through these talks, you're being fed into ideas from some avenue or the other. Bottom line, it's now comes down to you taking a call on how you intend to put the building together, and what are the key features that create identity and character to your building, and how does construction and structure aid to that, and should you adopt, and should the structure itself contribute to the identity or to the building, or do you need additional material, additional systems, additional skins, uh, additional elevation treatment to get your building to relate to the urban life, or is your the way you conceive the building, the way the structure gets the building together is good enough to portray that identity is, I think, no sooner than later. I think most guides will be in a position to interact and get to the fore. Yeah. Thanks.
With all these kind of interventions, and retrospectively, if you look at your work right from first year to third year and fourth year, whatever, you'll see that where your leanings are. Okay, someone might be interested in the technology of a building. Okay, so that is kind of putting you onto the path that when you do your design dissertation, that would be your interest. Someone might be looking at the services of a building. Someone might be looking at various public spaces for the building. So automatically you'll retrospectively, when you look at your work right from first year to third year or fourth year, you'll realize that that's your area of interest, and that's what makes who you are. If you remember in first year, the first lecture I gave you was you cannot change your parents, okay, uh, because you're born to them, okay, but who you are as an architect can be changed because of your education, because of readings, etc., etc., including the school you visit, study in, and the places you visit. So all of this is shaping your thinking. So please be aware of it, and automatically you'll see that, okay, this is where my interests lie. So some of you all may want to go into a field of conservation. Some of you all may go into building management system. Some of you all may want to go into something else. These are all pointers in that direction. Yeah. So please be careful of this. Clear? Shall we go to our groups now,
Yeah,
or what
yeah,
is the
I
thing?
think so.
Are there any
So we should.
questions?
If there are no questions, we can join our own channels.
Yep. It's
Meenal,
okay. Yeah.
where
Yes.
have you shared the mark sheet?
It's on Google. This thing. I think it'll be named as per the groups. Group 1, 2, 3.
Google, but have you given us access? Because I can't see anything on my email. That's why.
I have given you the access. I'll share it once
Can you
again.
just, yeah,
Anyway, I'm
please.
going to take 5 minutes break. I
Yeah,
need something, so I'll take a 5 minutes break. In that, I'll send you. I'll resend it again if I have
yeah,
not shared.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
Thank
thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, just
Thanks.
send it to all of us then. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks a
Bye
lot. Bye.
bye. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot, Meenan.
Thanks, Meenal. Yeah, bye.